Okay, here's remarks to the delegation. This was March 11, 2023, Sacramento, California. Thomas Cole. This is a full text version of a shortened nomination speech that I made to 900 delegates at the GOP convention in Sacramento. Dear delegates, I'm Thomas Cole, a political writer and strategist. My basic point is we must become strategic in getting votes or continue losing. California GOP, we must bring the tiger. To bring the tiger and win in more California districts and more statewide elections, we must convince all the independents and a few Democrats to join us. That is a fact. Because California is 25% Republican, 26% Independent, and 50% Democrat. We need to flip these voters. This flip can only happen on a few issues because Dems don't flip on inflation, open borders, drugs, gas prices, housing, voter fraud, law and order, or corruption. The Democrats seem to like corruption. It's seen as a necessary means to their ends. They just don't care. And so I identify three issues they do care about that we can win votes on: parent issues, medical freedom, and abortion moderation. Parent issues, the numbers. The parent issues, like no porn in schools, stopping the gender training, the anti-America CRT, promise to bring a likely 20% flip to the California GOP. Parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles are the group of independents and Democrats that will flip parties, as shown by the Youngkin election, which we analyzed. In that Virginia governor election debate, Terry McAuliffe said parents should stay out of the school issues, and then lost 20% of his Democrat base overnight. 20% of the Dem base is 10 points for the Republicans and minus 10 to the Democrats. A likely 20% flip of California independent Democrats on the parent issue would mean 20% of 70, and that equals 14 points to the California GOP, and subtracting 14 points from the left. So this adds up to some real numbers. These numbers are based on the Glenn Youngkin election model, which actually happened in Virginia 2021 governor race. Now, as our great candidate Sue Yu has shown, this path is filled with party-flipping, energized parent voters. We should study this model and scale up Sue Yu's methods in reaching these voters. Second issue, medical freedom. This issue brings in all the disenchanted Dems and independents who were forced to quit their jobs or had their kids forced to quit school or leave or take an experimental drug while being forced to sign away all rights to sue if someone dies, as many have. This issue combines parent issues, my body, my choice issues, with basic freedom and fairness issues. And fairness is one of the very top issues for Democrats. They see state-forced injections as being unfair. Many Democrats are now seeing that they were treated unfairly by the California Democrat governments with lockdowns, business and church closings, school closure, and failures. As Mike Pompeo said, the most dangerous person in America is Randy Weingarten of the National Teachers Union, who pushed for jabs, school closures, stopping vouchers, and huge raises to boot. Many Dems and NPPs now see the light. So this is how issue targeting works. We are cutting into their voter base with focused, thought-out strategies. Issue targeting is an efficient strategy to flip voters. And flipped voters count twice as much as new Republican voters because a flipped D voter subtracts from the Dems and adds to the GOP. And these people are already voting, and NPPs are not even sure what party they belong to. And they are not against Republicans on many issues, but for one issue, abortion, that keeps many NPP voters and JFK Dems away from even listening to any of our GOP ideas. The left has adopted abortion as their sacrament and their religious litmus test. Third issue, abortion. The GOP could modify its stance on abortion to gain a foothold with independents and JFK Dems. This is a big issue because so many on the left have adopted abortion as a new religion, and thus the question for any candidate, left or right, is, are you pro-choice? That is the left's religious litmus test. Abortion, Newsom, Dali debates. If we think abortion is not a big issue with independents and Democrats, we analyze the Dali-Newsom debate minute by minute, issue by issue. In that debate, Governor Newsom swabbed the deck with the abortion issue, making sure all the voters knew that Brian Dali was against women's reproductive care. He said that many times over. 4 different times in one debate, Newsom hammered Brian Dali, and it cost Dali the race, in our opinion. Gentleman farmer Dali did poll a 40%, meaning somehow he got 15% of California independents to vote for him, despite Dali's pro-life stance. The fact is, only 15% of NNPs and near zero Democrats will vote for any candidate who does not at least agree the abortion issue is up to the voters in the state as Dobbs prescribes. Now, our great gentleman farmer candidate, Brian, actually got 70% of the NPPs, which translated to 15% of the vote. We need to get 100% of the independents to get near a 51% statewide win. Welcome to California politics. Now, the Dems are very protective of this women's reproductive rights issue, and for good reason. Conservative candidates who say I'm pro-life are finished. This is a very complex issue. The left has researched and knows the religious right pull on the California GOP. The left knows that a portion of our people are religious zealots that will never nominate a pro-choice Republican. And so our accepted candidates are always at an immediate 65% disadvantage out of the gate. The left has laid traps for us through education, indoctrination, teachers' unions, and other government unions, media, movies, everywhere. Their people are brainwashed and loving it. For the left, abortion is the Alamo, and the left destroys our people out of the gate with this issue. So voters never hear about our good conservative ideas, our steady support of freedom. We are the party of freedom, except for this abortion problem. So, what if we take this issue off the table? 13. Religious right demands the left obey. Our California GOP crinos, Christian Republicans in name only, demand that we all order the left around, demand their childbearing women to not get abortions, demand their older feminists, their academics, their thought leaders, their college kids. We demand, if you get pregnant, you are going to have that baby, by God, is our commandment. 14. This is like the left trying to tell us you will have an abortion if we tell you to. If the left somehow got Chinese-like control over the state and started forcing abortions on our people for reasons like climate change or overpopulation or wrong social beliefs, we would absolutely flip. How dare you? Well, this is how the left feels about our abortion prohibitions. And the left is basically based on feelings. 15. Jesus. This belief that we, on the right, must order the left around is religious zealotry. And I propose that it's not even based upon the words or works of Jesus. 16. Nowhere in the New Testament does Jesus order anyone to do anything other than things like, quote, in everything, therefore treat people the same way you want them to treat you, for this is the law and the prophets, Matthew 7:12, or then render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's, Matthew 22:21, or you shall love your neighbor as yourself, Matthew 22:39, or a new commandment I give you, that you love one another, even as I have loved you, that you also love one another, John 13:34. And finally, do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Matthew 7:1-2. Jesus recommends we don't kill people, and that we treat others how we would like to be treated. But Jesus does not go around ordering people to attack those with different views. That is the opposite of what Jesus taught. Instead, we are to shine a light upon them and try to help them. Jesus, as Son of God, Son of Man, brought a religion based on freedom and choice, forgiveness and salvation. 17. Our whole nation and Constitution were based upon freedom, religious freedom, family freedom, choice, individual rights with individual consequences. Jesus did in effect say, quote, "If you make the wrong choice, there may be consequences, but not in this world and not by the hand of man." So therefore, we cannot and should not force the left to conform to religious expectations that some of us may have. 18. We, as a political party, cannot order the left around on the abortion issue and expect them to ever listen to us. That is why we are at 20% versus 80% in California right now, in the legislature and in most of our districts. And there is no good reason to order the left around, not religious or secular. No reason to think we can successfully order the left to do anything. This is America, and we do not, for the most part, order people around on religious issues. 19. Religious consequences. The religious consequences for the left's love of abortion are to be had in another world. It's not up to us to enforce those religious consequences upon them as some kind of punishment. Not in this world. That is God's work, and we in the California GOP are not God. 20. And that's why I say the all-or-nothing abortion strategy is a loser. What we need is to get a foothold back into California legislative power. Then, with a foothold, we can say, "Hey, Democrat candidate, can we at least not sell baby parts on the market this week?" And we could say, "Can we at least not cull them on delivery? Would that be okay with you?" These questions do resonate with many independents and Democrats who think it has gone too far. But we need a foothold to even speak at this point. And one passage from Matthew 5:16 is, "Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven." 21. Moderate to gain a voice in government. So the strategy is moderate to gain a voice, then work in the government to regulate abortion, to bring our view that it could be safe and rare, and at the same time continue to work to provide options, adoptions, birth control for teens, teach birthing age females how to count so they could successfully take the right amount of pills, and tell the parents about these issues. Ask permission to teach birth control to birthing age females and to males about responsibility, kindness, the golden rule. These are all the good things that religion has brought us. We can inculcate these attributes into our secular government without triggering the left. But we cannot expect the left to bow down to our religious demands or any demands. Not going to happen, no matter how right we think we are. 22. What Jesus said about abortion. Nothing. 23. Jesus on gay marriage. Jesus spoke of the marriage between a man and a woman. And not a word about gay marriage, not good, not indifferent, nothing. And Jesus had a talent for embracing the outcasts of society, tax collectors, prostitutes, drunks, and maybe gays. All welcome to the Jesus Big Tent. In the Old Testament, gays are condemned as going straight to hell. And the New Testament, Paul echoes this same line. And so we thank goodness for the temperance of Jesus' words in the New Testament. The words of Jesus are mostly about forgiveness, kindness, acceptance, reciprocity, to not judge lest you be judged. And that should be our religious rights touchstones, if we want to make friends. Crinos, mellow out. 24. Today's gay California GOP, different than abortion? For instance, our modern California GOP has rightfully managed to embrace the log cabin Republican, and more than a few of our leaders up to the very highest reaches of the GOP have said they are gay and have gay marriages. And none of these openly gay people have been removed from the GOP, not shunned, not censored, nor stricken from the party. And so why is abortion treated differently? Hypocrisy? Abortion has existed during Jesus' time and before. It's a sad, perhaps vile practice, yet if a woman needs to not be pregnant, she will get an abortion one way or another. And if a political group like the GOP tells her, "You're going to have that baby, by God," she will never vote for that group. We need to back off and tell the women your right to abortion is inviolable. and then do what we can to provide options, adoption, regulate, control, and make abortions, as Clinton said, safe and rare, or at least uncommon. 25. Abortion today in California. In California, there are 8,024,000 birthing age women age 15 to 45. And there are about 132,680 abortions per year, which is about 363 abortions per day, including weekends. This gives a rate of 1.6 abortions per 100 birthing age females per year. So if you know 100 women in that age group, chances are 1.6 of them are getting an abortion within a year. Now, is that too many? Can we help lower that number? How? By yelling at them? I don't think so. 26. Bottom line. We first must get freely voted into power to have a voice. We can be the voice of reason. People are looking for a voice of reason. And so, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God's. Let us agree to the reality that right now we have no control over abortion in California, especially since the Dobbs decision, which sent abortion issues back to the state. And we are in the state of California. So we need to back off some on the blanket prohibition stance, which brings nothing but electoral loss and doesn't eliminate any abortions. And moderate our stance to one of, we would like to offer options, offer birth control, offer adoptions, and offer kindness and civility, even to those who some of us may think of as enemies. And yet it's all women who are aborting their babies. Are we against women now? And again, Jesus would say, make amends where you can. Work towards understanding and accommodation. Attacking 80% of your neighbors as murderers will not get anyone closer to heaven and only causes us to lose most elections. 27. Conclusion. Those three issues of parents' rights, medical freedom, and abortion moderation form a coalition for liberty that looks like 25% new voters, added to our paltry 24% of GOP voters here in California. With that new set of voters, we are able to compete in California's political world. 28. I am trying to show an actual path, a plan and strategy to win votes. And that is what matters at the end of the day in politics. It can be done. Winning votes to gain a voice, to have influence. Otherwise, we have no voice, and that is what our 20% versus 80% legislature looks like in California. Are we waiting for a 1090 California? Last issue, 29, proxy voting. One more thing. Can we expect new voters to be excited about Republicans when our own delegates can't bother to show up? Proxy voting discriminates against in-person voting, and it harms minority rights within our party, creating animosity, mistrust, and rancor. This we don't need. 30. The GOP was founded upon the protection of minority rights, lest we forget. We Republicans freed the slaves from the Democrats. We wrote and voted in the 13th, 14th, and 15th Freedom Amendments, and wrote and voted in the 1960s Civil Rights Amendments, all against Democrat votes in Congress. And so, proxy voting, like in-mail voting, is prone to fraud, abuse, and coercion. So let's eliminate the proxy trade and make our own elections more open and fair to our minority districts and for the sake of togetherness. In Liberty, Thomas Cole, Sacramento, March 10, 2023.